go. Wonderful. So we're here, we're recording, and I want to say howdy to everybody again, and that I'm happy to have you here. We're going to talk about scammers out there and how to identify them, watch out for them, and then maybe things you could do to protect yourself. So I think this is going to be of interest to people, and especially in the future, if we have it up on YouTube, there will be others who will want to see it. So I am going to start it off tonight, but I've got to share my screen first, make sure I get on there. Okay. And as I said, it's long, but I'm just going to it's got a lot of text to it, but I'm going to kind of skip through and just hit the highlights here. And it starts out with book publishers to avoid and other shady author scams. You know, there's a lot of people out there who will tell you they want to publish your book, but really what they want to do is take your money. And so you got to learn how to identify between the two if you're going to try to put something out. Now, in general, if you're lucky enough, or I think it's lucky, but fortunate enough to get with a traditional publisher, you shouldn't have to worry too much about that because they're not going to ask you for any money. They're going to want to spend their money on you, and that's good. But vanity presses, oftentimes a vanity press is one that, well, in general, its definition is it offers to do all this stuff for you, and you have to pay for it. It wants you to give it money up front. And so there's some things to watch out for. One of the sources that I'm getting this from mentioned, there's some like Page Publishing, Ex Libris, which I see a lot of, Author Solutions, see a lot of that. Now, Ex Libris and Author Solution are actually attached to Penguin. They're sort of subsidiary things. So sometimes even things that aren't really tip-top are going to be attached to something that you would normally trust. So you do want to make sure that you know what's going on if you deal with them. Let's see here. It's not enough just to find out the name of the publisher. You really have to dig a little deeper and find out who are they, who owns them, what's their track record, and things like that. Another way that you can get scammed is literary agents promising book deals to you. And one of the things you can tell right up front, if a literary agent ever contacts you directly, pretty sure they're not legit. They've seen your name somewhere, they've watched you on some maybe conference that you attended, or maybe they've seen something you entered online and they know about you and they reach out to you. I mean, I can remember when I started the guild, I started getting a whole bunch of stuff from, and Ex Libris was one of them. They reached out to me, and oh boy, howdy, they wanted whatever my latest book was, and they wanted me to submit it. And secondly, your agent should never ask you to pay for anything. So if you get somebody after you and they're an agent, again, if they want you to pay for this stuff, there's something wrong with them, period. Now, they may even love your work, but that's no excuse for them asking you to pay them anything. They shouldn't ask you to pay to read your manuscript, none of that, okay? And again, I'm just skipping this lightly because I know Frank's got some stuff to share. Grossly overpriced self-publishing services. Now, some of this information is coming from an outfit called Readsy. I really like Readsy, and they've got, I don't know, thousands and thousands of professionals linked up to them. They vet these people very carefully. If it's an editor, for instance, they try to find out, you know, what have you done? What work have you done? They may contact some of the clients that they've had to make sure that they're not a ripoff. But that being said, I went to a Reedsy Zoom about a month or two almost, and it was on editing. And my God, the two women who were on there, they're professionals and they have edited some major works. But they said basically their price is $1 a word. So if you have a 60,000 word book, $60,000. Now, primarily that's because they are literally going to be looking at every word in your manuscript and paying attention to all the details. I would never, I certainly couldn't afford it, and I would never ask anybody to. They did say that they would on occasion work with the writer to talk, different deals, but they generally don't, unless they thought you had a masterpiece on your hands. They are not going to want to go for royalty percentage or anything. First of all, they flat out said most books never make any money. So if they did a contract with you for a share of the proceeds and the royalties, they figure chances are they're not going to get anything out of the book ever anyway. And so they would just be spending hours and hours and hours of their time for nothing. So that's primarily there. So sometimes these prices can seem terribly overpriced. Part of it has to do with quality. So when you're looking at these people, who are they listed with? Like I mentioned Reedsy, but who are they working through? How did you contact them? What is their rating? How does this organization feel about it? What do they feel about them? Okay, another way that you can be sort of taken to the cleaners is to get your book an ISBN, because you can buy an ISBN through Bowker and or Nielsen if you're not in the UK, but through Nielsen if you're in the UK. It's not that hard. A friend can help you that's done it. They can help you walk through it. There are ways that you may want to look at it and actually determine that you need to get several at once if you plan. Maybe you've already got 3 books almost in the can, and you're going to want 3 different ISBN numbers. Or you may have a different version. Maybe you're going to have a print hardback. Maybe you're going to have a softback. Then maybe you're going to have an audio version, ebook, whatever. Those are all separate ISBNs. And so this outfit that wants to, we're going to buy an ISBN we're going to get you an ISBN set up, and it only costs you this much, and blah, blah. Copyright registration, that's something else that's not that hard to do. But they will try to get their thumb in there and figure out a way to charge you. And these things are kind of dangerous because you don't really have any control over what paperwork they're filling out, whether they're putting your name on there or their name on there as the owner. So that's really kind of sketchy. They will try to sell you marketing packages and claim that those things are essential. You must have them. That this is how you get things marketed. Maybe they'll say, well, we'll do a press release and we'll send it out to all these major news things. Well, they can do that, but is anybody going to read them or pay any attention to them? There's no control there about that. Book fairs, they may go to book fairs and sit at tables, and you walk along and you've got, and they say, well, we're going to have your books at these book fairs, and you have to pay us for that. And problem is frequently they've got a whole bunch of books on a table, and you're not getting any special attention for your books. Maybe they claim that they're going to be able to get you adaptations in film or on TV, on streaming services with your screenplay adaptation. Bunch of BS. Anyway, writing contests and awards no one has heard of. This is a good one. Now, there's lots of wonderful contests out there. You can go to some of the major magazines or books or online sources that work with contests all the time. And they're going to be able to give you can check there and you can see for real things. But just because somebody runs a contest and then says, oh yeah, all you have to send us is $80 along with your manuscript, and we'll enter you in this contest, and the winner's going to get their book published in the end, and blah blah. No, it's just another scam. So I'm going to stop right there for a minute. And I don't know. I know, Frank, did you have just an actual little presentation you wanted to do, or do you want to jump in on this stuff, or how do you want to do that?
No, I think you should continue. You're doing fantastic. And anything that I have on my notes here is really only going to supplement what you're saying. And
Okay.
I can give a couple of for instances, but I've only got a couple of things written down that you haven't covered yet. So
Okay.
you are doing a splendid job. Roll on.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions anybody's got so far? You are awake, right? I haven't put you to sleep. Oh, good. Okay, let's go back and do some more on this. It really isn't as long as when I do it this way, just skip through. Okay, one of the big things is a vanity press. You know, there's a difference between a vanity press and a traditional publisher. And I already said that primarily the difference is they want you to pay them money instead of them paying you money. This is a list, and this will be in that document if you want to get that sent to you. So don't worry about trying to, capture all of this or anything. You submit your manuscript probably through an agent these days. They read it, they want it, they have an acquisition editor, and so it goes into this whole process. They handle the printing, the distribution, bookstores, libraries, all that. They are set up to do that as a business. So it's all covered and you don't have to worry about it. They will give you money up front. The problem is, of course, you don't get any more money until they've recaptured all of that money in sales. So you just may have to wait for a while. And that's the tedious part. Plus nowadays, they do expect you to do your share of marketing. Be willing to go on Zoom events, for instance, or travel a little in your area of the country at least, and go to some bookstores and maybe attend some book clubs or what have you. So they want a little out of you, but they do the bulk of the marketing. Vanity presses don't follow this model. They'll ask authors to pay for production costs, including editing and designing fees. There's very little transparency, so you can't really see what they're spending it on. They get money from you and you don't know where it's going. There's no quality service to accompany the cost. Remember I mentioned earlier, a professional editor may be quite expensive or even out of your range. There are medium ones, there are others who are not as, maybe they don't spend as many hours doing it, so they can charge less because they're trying to make a living too. And the one woman had said, it may take me 6 months to work with an author as an editor on their book. And I'm a professional, so $60,000, that's half of my, income for the year. And I just about fell over anyway. There's no way I'd ever imagine making that kind of money, but hey, I'm not an editor. But generally speaking, a vanity press doesn't give you any quality for the money you spend. So you end up with stuff that it's not very good. The editing, I can't tell you how many people have used outside editors and their books are full of typos, full of bad grammar and things like that. So you want somebody that really knows what they're doing. After all, you're paying somebody for their expertise. It's supposedly things that you don't already know, and they're hired to do a good job. A vanity press doesn't really worry about what the outcome is because they're going to make money regardless of whether the book sells. They're making your money. And so they don't care. And, if it sells a lot, whoop-de-doo, they're not getting a piece of that action. They're getting their money up front. There are a few crazy things that they will offer you that just really aren't real. They have, some of them say distribution to major bookstores. Well, not really. What they end up doing maybe is getting it into wholesalers like Ingram. And of course, major bookstores or indie bookstores or whoever buy from wholesalers like Ingram. And so ostensibly it's made available to these stores. But when you go in and look at what they sometimes put these books in as non-returnable with such a low discount rate that no bookstore is going to touch it. So technically the book's listed, but forget it. You're not gonna get anybody to take them up. Let's see here. What else might I say? If you're not careful, you may sign away your printing rights for years. Let's say your book is doing okay, and it does require occasional reprints in that. They own that right. They may own it for years. They may actually figure out a way to get it out of the country and into somebody else's hands. And technically, they own the right to reprint if you've given it to them. And that's one of the major things in a copyright is the right to print, to make copies. So watch for that one. They're going to try to wrench all the control out of your hands if they can. Most hybrid publishers, we hear about hybrids. You pay part of it, they pay part of it. Most of them are actually vanity presses. They're just doing another kind of way of figuring out what to charge you for fees and telling you that, well, you're going to do this part and we're going to do this other part. Problem is, you don't know if they've done the other part. And unless it's really spelled out in some fashion in a contract, you may not have anything that they're going to do for you. You may end up just stuck with the whole bill. Now, some vanity presses are owned by major publishers. I did mention earlier, we mentioned Ex Libris and Author Solutions. They are subsidiaries of Penguin Random House. Now that really upset me because I like Penguin Random House, but I was a little ticked off to hear that. And also Simon and Schuster has one called Archway. And here's a little thing that they have. They make this suggestion explicit on their website. Select titles published by Archway are reviewed by a board made up of Simon and Schuster editors for possible acquisition by Simon and Schuster. Sounds great. Problem is, we don't know how often the board meets, could be once a year. We don't know if they look at more than 6 books that are submitted to them. Who knows? There's no real indication of how likely it is that anybody of consequence at that publishing house is going to see your work. Okay, I'm going to stop here again, at least temporarily, and see how we're doing. Any thoughts or questions on that part? Everybody's, yeah.
You want to take questions about specific possible companies? I've gotten for a long time many emails from BookBaby. I get them regularly. I've never responded to them, and I wonder what category that is.
I've not. Well, Book is I believe a support. It's like if they provide services. They provide a site sometimes where you can put things, and I've not seen them on any bad lists, but maybe Frank has. Kathy says she self-published with BookBaby. Go ahead, Kathy.
I was happy with them. You buy as many services as you want, but they did the printing and they were responsive when I had questions or difficulty uploading some of the files. I am though looking for my next book to maybe try to go with Amazon and see what the price differences are. I hadn't shopped around or didn't know what anyone else would charge, but I guess BookBaby's like a hybrid. Yeah, but I felt good about my experience with them.
Good.
The biggest difference I think I would look for is if like you said, Linda, a vanity press makes their money when you buy your book from them. And so if you enter into any kind of a contract and they have a minimum number of books you have to buy from them or anything like that, that tells you right there where their emphasis is. Whereas I haven't used BookBaby, but my understanding is that, you order as many as you want or as few as you want, and you pay for the services you pay for. So that's more of I would say that's more of just a for hire situation, just like any other printer or service. So I wouldn't consider them scammer at all.
One thing I liked about them also, and they also have print on demand. So for anyone to order my book, so I've got it set up on my website. When they click on the order, it goes to BookBaby's website. They order it, and BookBaby handles them printing the copy, shipping it, collecting the money, charging the tax, all of that. So I don't get involved in those logistics. That's one of the things that appealed to me also. And I bought the package where it's distributed also internationally. And so also I sell in Australia and the UK and other places as well.
You feel comfortable with the accounting of your sales with them?
I do. So I can log into my account anytime, and monthly they update the sales, and it kind of shows whether it's with partners. So it shows whether it's through, most of them are selling as ebooks on Kindle books. Yeah, and so I can track some of it. If it's a book that gets ordered directly through BookBaby, then I can also see what part of the world where it was sold. But it also uses, there's other names I don't know, like Kobo and Squid or Squib or something.
Scribd.
Script, yeah, and
Those are just other digital platforms that distribute to readers.
Yeah, so most of it goes through Kindle, but I see some are purchased through that. And Barnes and Noble is also in there. Yeah, so, but I have no reference. I haven't checked anywhere else to see what the differences would be.
Okay. Any other?
Well, I mean, I could speak to that briefly, Kathy. Really, if I understand BookBaby correctly, they did all of the formatting and all the other stuff with your manuscript, correct?
I did my own formatting. I didn't pay to have them
Okay.
formatted.
Well,
and I didn't have them edited either.
Yeah, I think you would have been better off, and you would be better off, and anyone else would be better off going directly with Amazon in that situation, because you either did your own editing or paid for it. You did your own formatting or paid for it. You designed your own cover or paid for it. So you're incurring all of those costs, and those are the things you would need to be able to upload directly to Amazon. So you're getting 70% on a digital sale at Amazon. I don't know what you're getting at BookBaby, but they're only getting 70% from Amazon. So you're getting a cut of that. So you might consider, when your contract's up, not renewing it and just uploading directly to Amazon.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of doing with my next book, just to do it through Amazon. Yeah, you don't get that much. And like, where was I hearing it? You don't make a lot of money selling books unless you get really big. But yeah, I don't get that much from it.
Linda,
Mhm.
I've gone with Amazon, and it's pretty straightforward and up there, and they'll tell you can buy author copies. Frank knows all this. And I have also printed with Grey Dog Press too. And I think Grey Dog Press, if you have a really nice book, is, their printing is superior. I really like them. But Amazon is good as far as the money goes. So I don't know it all yet. I don't think anybody does, but and then one other thing, I kept getting information from Ex Libris, and they wouldn't leave me alone. I finally just quit responding to them and just deleting all their stuff. But they wanted $5,000 to, to do my book, and it's like, no, not going to do that.
I remember when Ex Libris started and they would do your book for free. They were simply trying to build up a catalog of books. I have no idea what the quality was. I've kind of kicked myself that I didn't have a book to send to them at that point, have them processed free, but I don't know. And I've known people who did go through them, but later on and had to pay for it. But I was right at the very beginning of, I think, of online books and trying to, publish this way.
Are you saying that they have to pay to be on Amazon, Fred? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying
Oh, okay, good.
when Ex Libris started,
Oh,
they
Ex
actually
Libris, I
started offering to
misunderstood.
print your book for free. And I think just because they were trying to build up a sort of back catalog of titles.
One of the things that I ran into, one of the tips was, watch out if you see a lot of reviews for books on some of these sites, because they will get the different authors to review each other's books, so they look good and they have more reviews, and really they're phony. I mean, they're not really reviewing the book for a reason that a person normally would as a reader. They're just helping each other out back and forth. So
Linda, you mentioned Barnes and Noble,
Mhm.
and I went in there one time because I know somebody in there, and I mentioned that I was published on Amazon, and I said, "Is there any chance of getting my book in Barnes and Noble?" And she said, "Not a chance. They're our competitor." So I guess
usually you'll find that normally with most independent bookstores, even chains like that, and it's I always tell people the analogy. It's like Safeway selling an Albertsons or a Rosar's product. Oh yeah, you produced over at Rosar's, bring it on over, we'll sell it here at Safeway. They're not really into helping their competitors grow. It's just like, we won't touch anything that's Amazon at Auntie's. It depends on how it's packaged, and we don't really care how you got it made. If it doesn't have identifying stuff all over it that says Amazon, and if it's something that we think's a good enough quality, high enough quality, then we'll consider putting it in the store if you bring them in as a consignment. Because of course, there's no way we're going to buy from Amazon. It just won't happen. And I was also, I read a thing recently where Amazon was closing all its brick and mortar stores. And I think they ran into a problem because they had a general idea that they could build a bookstore and have people just come in and look at all the books as though it was they were taking it off of a website and then plunking it on desks, and have people pick the things they wanted and then order them. And it didn't work so well. So that's kind of how they were doing their bookstores. So they're closing them all across the country. And so there's probably changes happening. They've said, or the general explanation was that they were backing away from being concerned about books and focusing on the food industry, because they purchased the big, they took over that big food chain. And I guess they figure that's where they're going to get their money in future. So I'm sure they'll continue to sell books and continue to have their services, but they have major changes they've made and probably will make more in the future. So, but okay, let's move on a little here. I've got the last section to go, but I have to hit, Linda, remember to hit share screen first. Okay. Okay, so how to avoid publishing scams. Be wary of anyone who contacts you first. We mentioned that. If they're after you, just like Ex Libris would constantly do. Tread lightly with publishers that want you to pay. If they want you to give them money, something is wrong. You can Google them, look them up on Google, or some other. If you have, there are actually other search engines out there besides Google. So, you know, look for things, find out if the company has a website. If it doesn't look right, if it hasn't been updated like they suggested here, if it hasn't been updated since 2005, red flags should be flying, because all of these major people have updated their stuff over time just to deal with the changes. Look at their books on Amazon. Yeah, you can tell, or usually tell, a quality cover that looks decent. Check at least 10 user reviews from actual readers. You want to have at least that many. There are a lot of books that are up there that have no reviews. And so you want to be, you know, wondering what that's all about. If they're not actual Amazon published items, then they're put up there by somebody else maybe, and you need to be careful. Ask the community, ask other people, like we're doing tonight, you know, what's your experience with them? How did it go for you? Ask questions of these people, just like you mentioned, ex libris. Start asking them questions like, well, what does it cost for this? And what does it cost for that? And the next thing you know, they're going to be telling you that there's a deadline. You know, you got to get it done by X or you're going to miss out on the deal, and the price will go back up or whatever. Well, that's just psychological pressure they're trying to put in your way. And then finally, if in doubt about it, just walk away. There's nothing says you have to go with anybody that you don't feel totally comfortable with. It's kind of like, you know, on a dating service, you get all these people thrown at you there. If something about that person's profile is making you nervous, walk away. Don't even consider having a date with them. And that's that section. I am going back up to the top here because I did add some things that were to do with that. This is a list of about 18 of this type of publisher that the Alliance of Independent Authors has red flagged. Now, I want to be clear here. We're not saying, because I don't want to get sued, we're not saying that these people are purposely trying to rip you off. What we're saying is that they've been red flagged because of author complaints. People have said, this doesn't look, you know, this didn't work. So you can look at this list. Abbott Press, Alpha Script, Archway Publishing, we mentioned that's with Simon & Schuster, Author Solutions with Penguin, Balboa Press, Dog Ear Publishing, iUniverse. I've seen that one floating around. So let's see. New Century Publishing, Pagoda Publishing, Calabrio, Pegasus, Raider, Tate Publishing. I've seen that one. Trafford, Westboro, and then finally Ex Libris again. So some of these things like the self-publishing.com, it is got lots and lots of good information about this topic. And then there's another one, I brought this up several times, which is Authors Guild. Authors Guild is a membership organization of authors. They work for authors' rights, they do legal stuff and all that, but they allow you to go in and use some of their stuff for free. You can research their site and get information from them. So then there is where to research a publishing company. So let's say you're into sci-fi or fantasy. You can go to Science Fiction Writers and Fantasy Writers in America, and you can look up, they have a writer beware thing on there that says, watch out for these people. The Alliance of Independent Authors, I think I mentioned them before, they have a watchdog table. And so people complain and get a hold of these outfits and tell them, you know, I worked with them and they did this to me. And so it gets kind of listed in there. And they sometimes do some research on it to find out, you know, if that's a valid complaint or not. The Independent Publishing Magazine has a publishing service index that they have on there. And it was really neat. It had a chart, and it's like They even have some semi-majors on there, and then they tell you what do they do, what kind of publisher are they, are they, and they give them kind of points. In other words, there's this total points that they've given them. So there are some ways, and again, if I send this thing to you, if you want it, you'll be able to look at it at your leisure. So that's the end of that stuff. And Frank has added some, let's see, absoluteright.com. And that one is for, is that a community one or the one below? Oh, here too. They both are community ones. So I'll be snagging these and I'll put them into the next newsletter too. So we'll have all of these references available for you. Now, I've not seen our friend come in yet, Wendy. I mentioned her early on in the front. I've not seen her yet. I don't know if she had trouble. I did send her the link today, and I think I had given her the newsletter, but in any event, what she's doing, and if you're interested in it, you could always send me an email and say, yeah, I'd like to, and is finding authors. She's making a directory of authors in the Inland Northwest, anybody who would be available and might be interested in presenting or I guess they do signings. I don't know. I didn't ask too much about it, her program, but that's what she's after. So if you're at all interested, you want to make sure I have that. It was told to me that Barnes and Noble is starting up again their events with authors stuff. So all that, the rest of this stuff. Y'all look like you're about asleep, you poor things. I know Stephen said he had a rough day. Well, Frank, did you have any additional things to pop in with then on this?
I think you covered most of it. I just wanted to share two things. One, you mentioned that agents that will contact you, of course, if they're contacting you because like they're an agent of an author who knows you, I mean, there are legitimate reasons or ways an agent might contact you. Just vet it. I mean, it's not automatically a bad thing. But if it's cold call, then that's different. And I had that happen years and years ago. Desert Rose Agency contacted me and asked to see one of my books, and I was naive enough to send it out, and lo and behold, they wanted to represent me. And that's when I got hit with the I just need a $500 retainer to get started against expenses. And the rule back then, before self-publishing, was that the money always flows to the author, and that was a ironclad rule. If the money's going the other direction, there's something wrong. And so that made it really easy to navigate. Now, of course, if you're self-publishing, like Cathay, she sent money to Book Baby for a legitimate purpose, for a legitimate reason, and got a legitimate product from that. So that's no longer the case. I mean, I guess is what I'm saying with self-publishing. But the kind of scams that I'm seeing now, in addition to everything that Linda mentioned, overpriced services and so forth, is if you're publishing independently, a lot of us are doing ads. We're doing promos. So we're putting our book at 99 cents or free to raise the profile, particularly if we're in Kindle Unlimited, because then it gets the notice of those readers and they start reading it. And there's these mail services like Fussy Librarian and Bargain Booksy and Free Booksy, and some of you may be familiar with some of these, Book Doggy, Book Gorilla. Of course, BookBub is the big one. And you can pay them anywhere between $10 and $100 to have your book sent out on their mailing list. And some of them are very effective. I mean, the ones, every one of the ones I mentioned is legit and I found them to be effective. but I constantly get emails from other ones that I'd never heard of that promise 65,000, subscribers. Your book will be in the mailbox of all these people. And, we have all these wonderful conversion rates and all this other, well, I'm going to use nice words tonight so I don't offend anyone. So I'll just say bullshony. And it's just, it's, there's always going to be scammers who are trying to prey on your dream and or on your hard work. And it just changes. The market adapts, the publishing industry adapts, self-publishing becomes independent publishing, becomes a viable thing. The scammers change what they're scamming you with. So Linda outlined a bunch of really great ones. I would just say, watch out for the people who are telling you what a great job they can do promoting you with their email list and their Twitter account and blah, blah, blah. Check them out, Google them first, because I've been inundated with these and it's irritating. So I'll quit talking now, or I will start using bad words.
Oh, you're doing great. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad you brought that up too, because that is something that I did not see noted in any of the information that I ran into, at least online. But a lot of this stuff has been online for a year or two. So yeah, I didn't see a lot of brand new things. And that is a valid point, because I've seen people talk about the fact that stuff's going on. It's kind of like, if a need comes up for somebody, I don't care if it's in the publishing industry, if it's in gardening, or what the heck it is, there's always going to be somebody there real quick to try to sell you something you don't really need, or you think you need, and they're going to sell it to you, but it's not going to be what you bought. And so
yeah, and running promos is a valid marketing strategy. I mean, I went full independent in January of 2021, with only a couple of exceptions. So 95% of my books are my own. I'm completely self-published, independent. And over however much I made in 2020, I made 758% more than that in 2021, because I had control of my own destiny, right? And I advertised, and I used those particular kinds of advertisements successfully, but that then breeds these dangers. Like I had to vet every single one of the times I received one of these, because they sound pretty good and I'm using this one over here and it works. And so you're kind of like, caveat emptor, people are going to figure out, oh, all these indies are using these promos, I'm going to jump on that scam train and try to rip some people off. And it's a good thing it's a digital world, because I'd be punching a lot of people in the nose if it wasn't, because they're just thieves,
and they deserve it too. Authors work hard, darn it. They just don't have money floating all over the place that they can throw at these things. They shouldn't be ripped off. It's kind of like getting a little old lady to pay you to walk me across the street. That's just not right. Anyway, I appreciate your comments, Frank. You've always been really great. And I know everybody's here. Steve, any other comments that we want to hear from you guys? Don't tell me we're going to end early tonight. This is amazing. I have time to drink some more wine.
Sounds too good to be true. It might be a scam.
I know.
Right? I had one, going back to the story I was going to tell you about, guys. This is like one of those email scams, where a guy sends you an email and tells you how great you are or whatever. Anyway, this guy apparently thought I was a successful writer. Told me, oh yeah, I want you to write me a story and then I'll pay you $500 for it. And I fell for it and never saw the money.
Yeah.
So, it's like, You gotta be careful.
Yeah, I'll write it for you after you send me the $500 and I have it in the bank.
Yeah, and I did do it, and we took advantage of it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I will add one thing that I fell for, and that is just, if you're in the independent game, you're paying for your own covers. I don't see any problem with paying half up front because they've got to trust you too, right? Once you are dealing with somebody reputable, but I was dealing with a particular cover artist who I was introduced by a cover artist I was familiar with and I'd worked with, but he didn't do the kind of work I needed. It was more for children's book. And this guy was a total flake. And I shouldn't have given him any money up front, and he delivered slow and then didn't deliver at all. And then, made excuses, and I ended up like a dummy. I ended up paying him in full before I was supposed to get 4 covers from him. And I got 2 good ones, 1 crappy one, or 2 good ones, 1 half done one, and the 4th one, not at all. And so, I mean, it was $250 a pop for those covers. So I kind of figured I paid about $500 a pop for these 2 covers and I got a crappy one for free. And then I had to go out and pay, to have the other one done. So, I mean, even if unless you're dealing with an established, cover artist or something like 100 covers or, Damon Zaw or one of these other established cover artist companies, I don't think I would ever pay more than half or a quarter up front to a cover artist if I had the option.
I know we have good, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say that when I first got started, I didn't understand the ISBN situation. And so I wound up buying the first 2 ISBNs for the first 2 of my books from a cut rate place that resulted in they hold the publisher of record business. So what I did was started my own publishing company, or Uranian Publishing of Spokane. And now I buy directly from Bowker. And so I buy them in a block. And so I own all of that and can keep my rights intact.
Good.
Yeah, that's one regret I have. The one regret with Book Baby, I didn't know, and so they offered to get the ISBN, so I paid, I think, $30 for that. And I only just this last year found out, oh, that means, as you said, they own the ISBN on that.
I have a question for Frank. And that is, when I had him print my book, I got an ISBN number. He suggested a place that I could get an ISBN number. And so I think that's okay, but I haven't even thought about that.
By he, you mean Russ?
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
you're fine. You're fine.
Good.
But
thank
what Stephen did is the smart thing to do is to, if you're publishing independently, is to create an LLC or at least, your own company and you're publishing it under that. So all my books are published by Code 4 Press, which is a division of Frank Zafiro LLC. So it's all me. It's all sounds all grand and wonderful. It's a one-man show, but it does, give you that control over your own stuff. And even if you use the Amazon ISBN that they provide, it still shows as independently published, and you're the publisher. So you're okay if you do it there too.
What is an LLC?
Limited liability corporation. It's basically creating like a little mini corporation for a small business. It can keep, if you sue me, Sandy, for giving you bad advice on this call, then at least my wife won't have to worry about our joint assets being attached when you file suit, because this is an official broadcast of Frank Zafiro LLC. All rights reserved.
Way back when, there used to be a time when if you incorporated, it was like blah, 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 Inc. And so it was incorporated. And then the feds changed the rules about who could do a regular corporation and who could do the others. So all of us little people got bumped down to the LLCs. When actually, it's a good way to go. It's a lot cheaper for one,
Simpler too.
and simpler. Yeah, a lot less red tape in terms of reporting and what you have, So.
I
LLC.
wanna-
Frank, is that a sole proprietorship LLC?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I want to just toss in that in my humble opinion, and this is an opinion, but in my humble opinion, anything that comes out of Gray Dog Press with Russ is totally dependable. I think I've found him to be absolute top drawer along the way and very supportive of authors. So I mean,
Totally agree.
anything you deal with Gray Dog Press and Russ, it's first class.
Yeah, he's great.
And I would suspect he was telling you to get an ISBN to more to help you than it was for any other reason, just to make sure that you had one. Because you bring a book in, you can ask Linda, but you bring a book in on consignment to aunties and they turn it over and there's not an ISBN on it, that's going to be the first indicator that maybe there might be a quality issue.
Yeah.
Could we get his, Russ's contact information, or maybe in the newsletter or something,
What?
or in chat? Oh, can we
Russ's
get?
contact.
Mhm.
Dittos, isn't it? Is it still Dittos?
Yes,
Yeah.
Or did he-
yeah, Skittles.
Yeah.
And he has this
Sorry.
great way of,
I
he can publish you any number of books. He published 52 books. That's his cutoff point, and it's very inexpensive. You don't have to buy 5,000 to keep in your garage. You can get 52 copies. And it's very reasonable, and you can sell them at a profit.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an honorable guy. When he had published all of my River City books, and then when they decided not to publish fiction anymore, and he said, we're only going to publish, for people who want their books, we're going to print books for people, and we're going to publish the trail guides, and that's all we're going to publish anymore. He gave me back my print rights immediately, gave me permission to use the covers, gave me all of the files for the most recent publication. He wasn't trying to make he didn't make me pay for those or anything. He just gave them back to me. I mean, very honorable guy.
Mhm.
How do you get an LLC?
Federal government.
Actually, it's at the state level.
State.
Yeah, so just type in Washington State LLC into Google and you'll be off. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, right. It's the feds you have to pay money to.
Mhm.
Yeah, can I?
And when
can I
you
ask-
do that,
I'm sorry to bump in here, but I did not hear clearly Kathy's question. She wanted something in the newsletter and I didn't hear what you asked.
Oh, it was the contact information for Ross, but I just found it on the internet. They're Ditto's Digital Solutions. It's a print shop in Spokane.
Yep,
Gray
up on the
Dog
South Hill.
Press.
Okay.
Sorry. And then Tonda,
Thank you.
you were asking for something? No? Oh, Carol, you brought that up.
this is the first time I've heard about that ISPN, and I do have my book on Kindle, and you did say they're trustworthy because that's how when you start making the copies of your book and handing them out, they're so expensive. So it's been really nice to tell people my book's on Kindle. Just go to Kindle and buy it. But
Yeah, if
I
it's
don't
on Kindle,
understand.
you don't actually even have to have an ISBN. If it's only on Kindle, it's an option if you want to have an ebook ISBN or not. I was actually referring specifically to the print version.
Mhm.
But if you go on to any of my books that have been published on Amazon, that I've published on Amazon, and you click on the print, if you click on the digital version, it'll say Code 4 Press. If you click on the print version, it'll say independently published,
oh, gotcha.
which
'Cause
means
they,
me. Right?
yeah, they do make copies. Is that when, because I can go in and say, okay, I'm okay with people buying copies of it. Rather than that, is that where I get an ISPN then? I have to have one?
You're
Yeah, you do,
wanting-
you do for a paperback.
in
paperback.
general, you're wanting an ISBN to have it picked up by the industry and sold by other people.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
primary.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Ta-da. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Okay, so I'm gonna save the chat. And so that'll be available and I can capture all of the wonderful notations. And if you do want to receive this printout, the 12-page guide for the meeting, please just email me. You've all got my email address. And if you email me and say, yep, I want it, then I will make sure to send it to you. How's that?
You want us to email or can we just put our email in the chat for you?
You can do that. You can put it out here if you want. I just don't want to have to go pawn through a listing of 400 email addresses to find you. So, you know, I keep them all in a Word document and they're all alphabetical. So what happens is if you've done something funny with your email, I can't find it under your name. I'm going to have to know what it started with. Like it could be E-bop bop, you know, for Sandy could call hers E-bop bop, and I wouldn't, somewhere in this list. So yeah, if you.
How'd you guess Sandy's email? Are you
I
psychic?
don't know. I'm physics. That's what I am. So yeah, it's even faster for me to just have you stick it in here in the thing, you know.
I have another question.
Oh, sure, go for it, Sandy.
I'm just full of questions tonight. I had a author signing down in Walla Walla at a private bookstore down there last October. And that went well, but then they called me and wanted some more books. And then he says, no, I don't have to do it. I can get them from Ingram. And I haven't published with Ingram at all, but apparently my book is available through them. So that's news to me. Is that, does anybody have
How is
heard
it-
anything?
How did you do your book?
I went through Amazon
Okay,
and actually Grey Dog Press because I probably, no, I think I just took books from Amazon down there.
but they said they'd already seen it.
No, it was after I did the signing and he was calling and asking for more books.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he says, oh, I can get these on Ingram. And I thought, that's interesting.
I want to be curious. Send me a title. Let me look them up on Ingram and see what it says on there.
Okay, I'll send you a title.
And anybody, whoever, as a matter of fact, anybody whoever wants me to do that for one of your books or something, just go ahead and contact me and I can look into Ingram the way a bookstore does, because we're in there all the time. And then I can see what it lists, if it lists a discount, if it lists returnable or not, what price it's got on it, you know, all that stuff.
I'd be willing to bet you that he thought he could get it at Ingram and subsequently discovered that he could only get it through Amazon. So did he ever get the books? Did he ever reach out to you again and said he got the books?
No, I had some books to send down for him and he says, oh, I don't need them. And then I never heard from him again. So
yeah, I'll bet if you follow up, you'll find out he's like, I checked Ingram, but you're not there.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can buy it through Amazon through expanded distribution, but it's not very cost effective and they don't like to do it.
Yeah.
Linda, you mentioned looking into Ingram. How does Bowker play into this? Because I know that somebody told me that I needed to be listed in Bowker for the bookstore to be able to buy it.
No, they may have been referring to the idea that you needed to have an ISBN. It needed to be. There's
if you buy an ISBN from Bowker and then you go to Ingram to publish your book through Ingram, you can use that ISBN at Ingram. And then you're considered, it fits exactly what you're saying that person wanted.
Yeah, the general concept here is the book is a product, and every product in the world, every book product has one ISBN number. Unless it's, they may do different ISBNs in other countries with different translations. Every time there's an iteration of the book, whether it's digital or audio or whatever it is, it might have another ISBN. So that's why they always tell you to get several of them at Bowker when you're buying them, because if you want to put this out, the biggest way is every time I turn around to order a book, the customer may want it in hardback, and right now it's selling in paper. I have to go on there and look for the hardback if we no longer carry it, and it's going to have a different ISBN. It's literally a different product.
Yeah.
So, does that help any? And the ISBN, it stands, I mean, I'll just tell you the first word is international in the ISBN code.
When Russ did my book at Grey Dog Press, I had to get a different ISBN number for Russ to put on the book because he wasn't going to use the one that Amazon had.
Well,
He can't. That's basically Amazon ISBN and ISBN for everything else.
technically, it's like Amazon owns the ISBN.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch, ouch.
Well, that's because they're the only ones that are going to be selling that particular product, though.
Right.
The other, if you get another ISBN and you use it, like Steven's talking about with Ingram or whoever, you know, I mean, if Auntie's orders it, they're going to order that one. They're not going to order the Amazon one.
And that's just it. You technically, you almost never, we don't run into a confusion with ISBNs normally. Because if you bring your books in, we're going with that one. And that's what Ingram's going to show. The only place that will show that other one probably is Amazon, and we don't go there. So.
So if I were to go with Amazon, like with my next book, then they're going to have the ISBN.
I don't know, Frank, do they let you do your own ISBN?
Yes. Yes, you can they'll either supply one if you want for free, or you can use your own.
Okay.
But I don't, because I'm only using Amazon right now. My buddy Colin, he gets a separate one, and we'll go through Ingram Spark so that it is available through like a place like Auntie's. And so so it requires two separate ISBNs for the same book, because Amazon will still require, I'm almost certain of this, double check me on this, I am not 100%, but they'll still require an exclusive ISBN that's an Amazon use only, if I'm understanding that part correctly. But and the reason I'm hesitant to say that for sure is because I don't do it. I just use Amazon and that's it right now. So
That's what I should do, is double check between, because of course it's different if you're having the book produced by Amazon. That's not the same as them getting stock from like the majors. They're going to use the majors ISBN. That's why,
right.
yeah.
Right. But whether I bring my own ISBN or not, they're still going to be printing the copy for me if somebody orders it through Amazon. So yeah.
Yeah, but the question is, will they insist on using their own ISBN, or will they go
No.
read it like, yeah.
Oh, when they print it, you mean? Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay. That's why I think it has to be exclusive, even if you bring it to the table.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh. And of course,
No.
what?
I'm confused.
Yeah, you're confused.
Yes, I'm confused.
20 odd years, and I'm just totally spun. Well,
Let me clarify, make it really simple. It's my understanding that Amazon requires that the ISBN for a book that they're going to print for you, that they're going to publish, physically print for you, is exclusive to them. So if you want to use the one they'll give you for free, or you want to bring your own that you buy over here from Bowker, it doesn't matter. They want it to be just for them. If you want to have your book either published or distributed, however you want to look at it, through Ingram Spark so that it can be ordered by aunties directly and it's more bookstore friendly, that would need to be a separate ISBN for the same book, which is why I don't do it. It's why I just use the Amazon offer and just go through Amazon. But you're not going to see my book at any bookstore that I didn't bring it into either. Frankly, I don't worry about it a whole lot because print sales are about 10% of my sales. So, you know, I'm more
Yeah,
focused on the digital.
That's the thing, is all of these things are sort of state dependent. In other words, whatever you're doing with your book or however you're producing it, however you're selling it, it's going to have a lot to say about the answers to these questions. Because the answer is never going to be the same for any two people. It's used in different situations like that, like Frank's talking about.
One more question, then I will stop with the questions. But like I have some small books, like kids' books that I publish through Amazon. And I think aunties will take them on consignment. Not very many, but I may have just shot myself in the foot.
Well, you know, we try to take what we can. If we think it's a good looking product and we think that it's going to, you know, do okay. What we, now I can't speak for Carrie, the person that does the program now, but what we don't want is to take in a lot of books from people that sort of hurt our image because they're so poorly done. It's a bad representation. And people tend to associate a poorly prepared book with the bookstore where they bought it. They assume that we are passing judgment on it and saying it's fine. And so a really bad book hurts us, believe it or not. But if we look at it and decide it's one that we can carry, and rather we try to work with you on however we can. But see, that's a consignment book that we will likely never order online. We will only get it from you and sell it. See, so that's why it really doesn't matter.
All two books.
Yeah, all two books. But the best thing is just talk to Kerry about, you know, look at it and see what he says.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're, well, we went from, gosh, we're stopping early to we're 15 minutes late. So sorry about that. I hope I didn't hold anybody up too much, but it was a good session. I enjoyed seeing everybody. And if there's no more questions, I have saved the chat in case you need that. I will be pulling information. I will be uploading the recording to YouTube sometime this month. And I'll let you know. Anything else, just email me, okay? So, been swell, gang. Take care. Thanks
Bye.
for all the people that answer questions and all the people that ask them. Thank you.